Welcome back to the Aviation-rcnoob podcast. You found us. My name is Joe.
And I'm Matt.
We're here to be with you along your journey and to share our experiences in RC aviation. If you have any questions, thoughts, or want to share a flight story, hit us up at aviationrcnoob@gmail.com. Now, buckle in. Let's take off. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the
Aviation RC podcast. This is
what
episode 96.
Is that what we call ourselves?
Aviation RC podcast.
Okay,
Every day, all 96 episodes.
Every day. We hadn't been here for 3.5 months. No, you did an episode without me, I think.
Yeah, we had an interview that
Okay.
I was able to, that turned out to be a full episode's worth of interview. But other than that, no, that's it. That's the extent of it.
Okay, well, first things first, we're still alive. We're still
Yep.
out here. This is still a thing we're doing.
Don't call it a comeback. We've been here for years.
We apologize. It has been this long. I think we both kind of thought maybe it would come around a little quicker than this, and we'd be back at it.
Yeah.
And Matt, again, no pressure, no shame, because it's not like I was here either.
No,
I think
no.
you had some other plans, and
I had plans, and they didn't work out like I planned. So,
your buddy wasn't here to do it with you, and you were like,
well,
forget that guy.
That definitely put a damper on the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie. I thought, oh, it'll be fine. And look, again, the interview was great. And then I'm like, I'm going to talk about, and I'm like, oh man, Joe's not here. That's going to sound really weird talking about that. Okay, that subject requires probably an expert. I'm not going to talk about that. Okay, what can I talk about? And I kind of went doing that a while, and then I was like, well, maybe I'll get somebody else involved, and that took more coordination and effort than my brain could do amidst the end of school year stuff that I get kind of roped into.
Had a lot going on.
Yeah, I had a lot more than usual this year as dad. So, yeah, I got busy with doing end of year stuff. I mean, end of school year stuff, and that was okay. I also had my project at work was we'll call it closing, but we kind of do a cycle where we issue it for bid or for construction, and those are like big milestones, right? And so we were finishing up that, and that took more of my personal and mental energy than I was expecting. That coupled with not having somebody who's like, hey man, let's record this. This sounds like a great topic or whatever. Mm-hmm. The community has been excellent for kind of pulling me back to the hobby when I might have just sat more on my couch than otherwise, So I want to thank our community for continuing. And, we've been kind of in and out of that and being part of that. But, I mean, really big thanks to the community for kind of keeping the excitement going and keeping the interest. I think we all love the hobby, so it's really easy. But, it's nice to know that we got this solid group of folks. By the way, there'll be a link in the doobly-doo in the show notes if you want to join the Discord and you haven't already. Join that family. It is a great place to be if you love RC aviation.
Mm-hmm.
So big thanks and big apology. So I know there's a number of you folks out there that do support us, and we appreciate it. If you have any hard feelings, please reach out. Let us know. Happy to give you a refund for those 3 months if you need. However, if you did and you say don't worry about it, we love you anyway. So double thanks on that. Appreciate
Absolutely.
the leeway on that. And then in the meantime, we're not dead. We're back. We're still here. We're recording this episode as kind of a kickoff. Well, not a kickoff, but kind of like we're still here. We're going to do this.
So I'm looking.
We haven't stopped.
Looking back for the email that ultimately triggered me saying we need to sit down and do something. And so I'm going back through.
I think it was Captain Videos, Larry.
It was not. It was actually before that. Somebody, and
Okay.
I'm looking for the email, but in that, Captain Larry has reached out to say, "Are you guys still alive? Are y'all okay?"
Yeah, we're really concerned for you. And by the way, thank you for that email. And anybody
Yes.
who reached out, really big thanks to those who did. We've heard a couple rumblings here and there in the Discord, but you see us kind of chime in, so you know that we're not completely out of it. But I really appreciate the sentiment and the concern.
Mark was asking if we needed a welfare check. So that was
Mark?
Mark C. He wrote in.
Okay.
I was like, "Where the heck are you guys? Do y'all need a welfare check?" And that was sadly back in April.
Right.
So I know there
big
was
thanks.
I know there was somebody. I should have responded to the email when I saw it because I meant to respond.
Same here.
Why?
The problem is I get through about a half a page of just, here, let me explain. And then I get distracted or, because I had other things going on, or I'd be like, no, that's too long. Maybe just a quick, I'm alive, don't worry. Joe and I are good. We'll catch you when we record next, or whatever. And then,
well, I'm gonna find that email because we got one that was specifically, here it is from Mike Young. This
cool.
was May 11th. So they stumbled across podcast, getting excited for Flite Fest 2024. Been very entertained by his guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
We're only halfway enjoyable at the best time, so glad you're enjoying it. Halfway through listening to the catalog, but I haven't seen a new podcast for a while. Hopefully you guys are continuing. So yes, we are. I specifically wanted to find that because that was the one that's always been like, since I read that, top of my mind, like I need to respond to that guy, or we put out an episode so I can address that directly, or we can address it directly. So tonight's not going to be terribly long. We're just kind of catching up. Matt and I haven't spoken a lot during this time period.
Yeah.
We've both just been busy. I have news. Nothing ground-shattering yet as far as job and career and all goes. But Matt and I are going to be a little bit closer to each other in the coming year.
Say what?
I am moving to Raleigh. I'm still in South Carolina, but I'll be moving to Raleigh, North Carolina in the near to mid future.
Yeah.
My wife has already moved up. She's staying with some friends and got an apartment picked out. And I'm still here because my job is still here, and I've got to get the house prepped for sale. So that's sort of where, between in the beginning applying for positions and not hearing really anything back, and then this whole month has been, she's gone and I'm trying to get the house prepped. So that's where things have been on my end. And I think about you guys, I think about Matt, Matt, and I do think about Flite Fest, and I'll have better information the next time we sit down on a firm yes or no, just because this year has just thrown things in the cogs. So my intention is to go. I'll know a little more absolute in the very near future.
Okay.
What about you?
About which?
Well, so
yes. The answer is yes.
I've not been doing anything in the hobby. Do you have any updates
so what have
or
I been doing in the
things? I don't know. We're just talking right now. We're
I
catching
gotcha.
up.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it's been, geez, you said it was 3 months. It doesn't feel like it's been 3 months, but you were very likely correct.
Well, I remember that the week after they let everybody go, like the week after heads rolled in my company, that happened on a Wednesday. The following Tuesday was when we sat down with Red. And then I think 2 weeks later, there was one more episode, and I was there for part of it, and then had to go. Maybe, I don't remember, but yeah, that would have been right at the end of February, beginning of March.
Gotcha.
So it's been coming up on 3 months.
Yeah. If it hasn't been 3 exactly, it's been heading straight towards that way. And I can't tell you how many times I've literally either been thinking about the episode or about to sit down and record an episode. I've probably approached it about 3 different times this last couple months, because in this at the 3 months ago or 2 months ago time period, Muttley, he decided to move in with his folks for a little while he was kind of rearranging some of his life. He had similar things going on.
Put that kind of information out there for him?
He and I have talked about it a bit, and no real specifics. He's been looking for a new job, so he's been kind of trying to figure out the best way to do that. And some of that time, his folks have invited him to come and hang out with him for a little bit, so he's been doing some of that. And that's in between. I'm like right in between all that, so he stops in and he brought up the AA gun, and so I saw the new and improved version, which he kind of hung out for a week where he worked on it and did some of that stuff. We flew we flew the Kate bombers across it and stuff like that. We pulled out the Cessna 337 and really got that dialed in. I got the front motor figured out, so we were able fly that and have a bunch of fun with it. I know I got Amy out. She flew the Scoutmaster, so she flew the one that was stabilized. And then I pulled out the old Fogey, one of the old Fogies that I had built. And so she pulled that out, and she flew around with that for a couple minutes. She did a number of circuits. And then I think as she was coming in for a landing, I can't remember if it caught a gust or if it just dumb-thumbed and just went, and then kind of like went straight nose in, which will do it. But I mean, all it did was it bent the firewall a little bit. It elongated a hole. It didn't mess up any tail or any wing. And I think I had a little bit of repair to do in the nose, and it was like ready to go again. It was a matter of a couple of quick things. I mean, they were just like, oh, we can't leave that. We have to go back and fix that. But other than that, it was ready to go. Nice. So there's very little damage. We're ready to go flying again. It's, I haven't done a ton of flying, and honestly, this last month, I mean, after the deliverable, I don't know, I ended up getting really busy with family, and so between
your mom
that,
came down for a little bit.
Yeah, my mom came down she likes to come down at the end of the school year, which, like, part of me is like, that is amazing, but it really curtails any plans I might have for doing planes or designing or anything like that. Like, it really, and part of it is because I want to spend time with her. Like, I don't get to see her but a couple weeks every year, so I want to enjoy that time with her. I don't want to say, well, whatever, Ma, I got a project I have that I started on my own, and I can't talk to you because I got to go do that project. Like, no, that doesn't. I'll hate myself if that's how I handle things, And
kids rolling in on the end of the year.
Yeah,
which is always a thing.
Yeah, so it's busy, just busy,
yeah.
And that's okay. So I decided to put family first for this last month, and some mental health kind of just let me take a break from some things because I was getting a little burnout. It's easy to get overwhelmed with the amount of kind of things on the plate mentally that I had. So I kind of let it sit back a bit, and just which was unfortunate. I mean, part of that came from when Ethan was down. We tried to fly the aircraft carrier, and on launch, the front wing snapped in half. Yeah, that's a sum up. I mean, that right there summed it up.
That's just how that goes.
And I think that kind of put the whole thing as like well, shoot. And like, well, what can I do about it? And the answer is, I don't really need to do anything about it, but it kind of like, maybe I should just take a breather. I got a couple of ideas on how to fix it, but I didn't feel the motivation to go and fix it. And it wasn't that I was like, forget this hobby sucks. It was like, well, I need to get motivated again before I really get back at it. Like,
that was such a massive project to undertake.
But it wasn't like in my head. No, but in my head, I had that designed, cut out, and was built by like almost January. And I was doing some of it in February because I didn't get on it in January. But if I was on it in January, it would have been done. I probably would have had it flown in February, and I would have been working on the full scale and by full scale, I mean the I'm going to need a trailer for this size.
Uh-huh.
And I would have been working on that. And I would have had that almost done.
Fest?
And then, that's how we would have rolled up to Flite Fest. And honestly, I'm not saying that that's not going to happen. I'm just going to say that it isn't need to happen. I don't think
we're how far from Flite Fest at this point? Like 3 weeks
3
or
weeks.
4 weeks?
Oh
3
my
weeks?
God, it's ridiculous. 3 weeks. Not even. Right? It's the 17th. The week of the 17th is when it starts. So we're halfway through this week. 29th is when we're recording. So we've got 1, 2, 3 weeks. So part of me is panicking. And the other part is, and I think the healthier part of me is saying, you know what? It'll be what it is. We'll bring some planes we enjoy. We'll bring a plane to build and fly and have a good time with, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't sweat it. I mean, we've got our Noob Wonders that I think we got a couple. I got like 3 or 4 floating around here. I got one that's done up like the Hulk. I mean, really not a huge deal. So it's not like I won't be able to go and have fun, right?
Yeah.
It's just, it won't, I don't think this year I'll manage to pull off the grandeur that I was hoping to ultimately. But I think based on what we did last year and how much time how quick the Noob Wonder came together, I'm planning, I've already got the plans laid out and I've started cutting. I'm planning to bring a giant Noob Wonder again. I'm going to build another one. So that way you and I can have something big to fly. It'll have the new logo on it. It'll be what it is, whatever that ends up being. I think I'll make it a twin motor because we have.
So you're gonna do the thing that I said I was going to do because I'm
I don't
think not get it
I don't
done.
think you're anywhere.
No,
close.
I'm not going to get it done.
Right, unless you're already there. Like, let me know.
No, not happening.
Yeah. So, and that's okay. And so, what we'll do is, Jesse's coming in from. I wanted to say Washington. I don't think it's Oregon. He's coming in from that corner of the country, and he's going to fly in and be here a little early. And so he'll work on some planes that he wants to have ready to bring up. And then we'll work together on building the Noob Wonder. We'll get that up and running.
No, that'll be
we'll
good. An extra set of hands for you.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have a little bit of maybe somebody to work with or whatever. And either way, we'll have fun. And hopefully you'll be able to come down 1 or 2 of the weekends. I mean, who knows? Because I know you're also really busy. You're busier than I think you anticipated being at this point in the year. I think you were expecting a little bit more relaxed time.
Well,
I think it's
when those initial plans were made, like this year was just supposed to be a nice, calm year. It was going to be a year that I really tried to dive back in, and boy howdy. But
right?
what I can say, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when you're done, I got something.
Okay, I was going to say if because I should be able to make Flite Fest again. I'll know more. Kind of this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah. You need to have a couple conversations, but I mean, as far as planes and stuff, you've already mentioned you've got a couple planes that are perfect to bring along. If they need some repairs, then so be it. And then I think
so.
You'll be ready to have fun.
Yeah, I got the Corsair that hasn't flown forever, but it is still flight worthy. It'll just be probably its last flight when I do fly it. So I got the Corsair. I got the 7 that still hasn't maidened. Mm-hmm. I got another podcast Spitfire.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the Flurkin that it's got some Flurkin waggle in the wing, but it's the same Flurkin from last Flite Fest. And I did not get that A10 built from last year, so that's just going to have to hang out.
Well, I don't think anybody did. I think we all had plans like, oh, it's happening this year. Nope.
Yeah, but it's still there. And then, I can, potentially jam out a Wonder, a Noob Wonder when I get to your place when we get up to Flite Fest. So each of those needs some work to be ready, but they should come together fairly quickly. So I'll at least have planes for Flite Fest. It just might be the last time they fly. We'll see.
Okay.
And I won't be tore up if that if that's the case, if I got to leave them in trash cans.
Yeah, take out the electronics and leave it there. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what we did with the Giant Noob Wonder. I would love to be able to take the Giant Noob Wonder home. But at the same point, I think we had enough damage on both of those that it just wasn't worth it last time.
I mean, mine was just a cracked firewall.
Yeah. There was some damage to the wing.
Was
I
there?
recall right from the landing.
Okay.
It wasn't major. We probably could have made it work, but I was burnt out by that point.
What do you say? And I know that like we're shooting all over the place on this episode. It's just because it's just
what it is.
It's a we're still alive, guys, and just a chance for you and I to talk. I don't want to right now because I know we both got a lot. Well, we both do, and I've got a lot to do here. And I won't have a whole lot to talk about hobby-wise anyway. But what do you say we at least plan once a month that we'll still sit down and do something? Like we'll still record something once a month.
I think that's fair. So yeah, going forward until we kind of get where you need to be. Mm-hmm. And that'll allow me probably a little bit more time to maybe get some guests in line to be able to do some of those episodes we wanted to do the way we want to do them. And that's kind of getting experts involved to deal with things like ESCs and motors and not just have we'll call it guesstimate on how they do the thing, but talk to the experts. Because
right.
if you want to hear that, I mean, we have that. Go listen back to the early episodes. Because, they're as accurate today as they were, then. They really haven't changed tech terribly much. So, yeah, I think that's fair to do. I think that's... So expect to hear from us. Well, you hear from us at Flite Fest. Or shortly after.
Probably. Oh, yeah, definitely. That'll be easy enough to do. Because, we both go, we'll have the wired mics, and we can just, do our day-by-day recaps as we're hanging. Yeah.
One of the episodes, I want to say it was about a month ago from Flite Fest, they did an episode on combat. And, of course, I can't find it or anything, but I'll find it and post a link. And about the 2-minute mark, they talk about how going to Flite Fest, the 10th anniversary is amazing. I think the episode was on a retro rocket. And they talk about combat as part of the fun of it. And then they highlight, if you want to know what a Giant Noob Wonder looks like, they highlight our last year's
so happy
combat.
That showed up in the video.
Dude, I geeked out. My kids are like, "Oh my God, Dad, that's your plane!" And I'm like, "Yeah, that is." And it was, it was like a perfect shot of us. I think our first collision in that combat that we put it in, because I think there were about 3 collisions in it, and I think that was like the first one. We came up underneath somebody and just went right through them. Like
you say we? It was you.
We were there. We were there together. Come on,
I
now.
launched it for it. Like I hand launched it, but you were flying. You were flying.
We were in there.
You were wild, man.
Yeah. Well, again, when you build it for combat, like we built it to fly in combat.
I'm up there in combat, just fly in circles gently.
I thought about it. I was like, well, and I'm like, no, what kind of fun is that? So that's what it is. Yeah. Anyway, so I guess just we'll post a link on there so if you want to see it. So I think we'll either rebuild that, and it depends on kind of how much progress I make. If it's one of those like, it's taken longer than I thought, so let's do the basics. Or we may do a twin and maybe have it go a little bit faster. But it should be, we'll have another one of those together. Even if we're putting half of it together at the thing and getting help.
Oh, I may have us a new flying buddy.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna say please don't. It's awful. It's terrible flying with people. No. It's great.
He's my buddy. We went through the scouts together.
Oh no, a scout. Oh geez.
Yeah. Oh boy.
You know how I feel about those scouts.
Yeah. So he and I are starting to we're spending a little bit of time together since I'm going to be leaving, and he's like, what are some things like we could do together? Like, how do we stay in contact? How do we, you know, keep the friendship going, even once you're gone? And I said, well, I do the hobby, you know, and it's cheap enough to do, and you know, rather than you coming all the way up to Raleigh just to hang, you can meet me in Fayetteville. I got Matt there, and if you're doing the hobby, all three of us can go flying. Right. So, we'll see. Might have you a new friend, too.
That would be fun.
It'd be a good time.
Yeah,
he doesn't have to drive 3.5 hours, just 2.5.
Right, just 2. And, you know, usually, especially if it's in the summer, I got some room, usually. Most summers have a little bit of extra space. So, that works out. Well, good. That's awesome. I'll cross my fingers and hope that part works out. I've been kind of working my angles up here too, as I get, I don't know, just more familiar with some of the neighbors, and you know, they continue to show interest. You know, they're rarely are they going, I don't want to. Just that seems weird. You go do it. It's more like that seems really cool. Like, so I think bringing them out with Aero Scout is really my probably smartest choice. Just say no, really, go fly it. I mean, you can still bust it up, I guess, but don't worry. we'll manage. So why don't we? Here's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I've got a little bit with all this talk about. It seems like Flite Fest and a number of other companies are putting out like jet turbines. Flight Test is making EDF aircraft, so it's kind of jets basically. And they've been kind of pumping those out in the last year. We've talked about some of the jets of World War II, but I don't know that we've actually talked about the very first jet. So I figured for the history this week, or this episode, that we could talk about the guy who created the first jet really quick. And then, and there's not a whole lot on it, because it really was like, hey, it proved the concept. The plane is awful. but we've proved that this works, and we can improve it, and we can actually do better. So let's scrap the plane itself and let's move forward, right? Especially as World War II was hot and heavy, so they kind of changed that. And of course, you know, the was a Messerschmitt 262, I think, and one of the other Heinkel was the other guys who kind of created some of the first early jets. So anyway, and you know, everybody's. Feel free to send us a note and saying, Matt, you don't know anything about jets. Let me tell you what the deal is with the jets in World War II. So I welcome those emails, please. You can send it to Joe at Aviation. I'm just kidding.
All right, so what's the plane?
Okay, so let's see. We're going to talk about Hans von Ohain, who is credited as being the first person to have created the first operational jet engine. Though there were a lot of other patents, or a lot of other, I think there were earlier patents done in Great Britain, and is oftentimes credited to Frank Whittle. But it is Hans von Ohain of Germany, who is the designer of the first operational jet engine. So he actually got one working and shown the proof of concept that it functioned, and put it in an aircraft and had it work. So he registered for the patent for the turbojet in 1930. He received that recognition, but he did not perform the flight test until 1941. He was born in December 14th, 1911, in Dessau, Germany. And he pursued doctoral work at the University of Göttingen. Oh, geez, I am not a German. I mean, I am German of descent, but I have no gift for the language at all. Göttingen.
Just sound angry when you say it.
Well, yeah. So he formulated his theory of jet propulsion in 1933. After receiving his degree in 1935, he became a junior assistant to Robert Wickert Pohl, the director of the university's Physical Institute. He was granted a patent for his turbojet in 1936. He joined the Heinkel company back in Rostock, Germany, and by 1937, he had built a factory-tested demonstration engine, and by 1939, a fully operational jet aircraft, the Heinkel 178, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Soon, he directed the construction of the HES.3B, the first operational centrifugal flow turbojet engine. This engine was installed in the Heinkel 178 airplane, which made the world's first jet-powered aircraft flight on August 27, 1939. He developed and improved the engine, the HES.8A, which is a number of versions later, which first flew on April 2nd, 1941. This engine design, however, was less efficient than the one designed by Anselm Franz, which powered the ME-262, which we've talked about in the past. That's one of the first, which was considered to be the first operational fighter jet aircraft. So he came to the United States in 1947 and became a research scientist at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the Aerospace Research Laboratories, Wright's Aero Propulsion Laboratory, and the University of Dayton Research Institute. Wow, that's a lot of things all at once. So during his 32 years in the U.S. government service, Ohain published more than 30 technical papers and registered 19 U.S. patents. And in 1991, he was honored by the U.S. National Academy of Engineering with the Charles Stark Draper Prize as a pioneer of the jet age. Ohain died on March 13th, 1998, at his home in Melbourne, Florida. So that is the creator of the jet. And that jet was put into the Heinkel 178. It was an experimental aircraft designed and produced by the German aircraft manufacturer Heinkel. It was the world's first aircraft to fly using thrust from a turbojet engine. It was developed to test the jet propulsion concept devised by the German engineer Hans von Ohain, which we had just heard about during the mid-1930s, or more towards the late 1930s as well. Having secured the industrial support from Ernst Heinkel, von Ohain was able to demonstrate a working turbojet engine and the HES.1 in September 1937. He pursued development of the HE-178 as a private venture, independent of the German authorities and the Luftwaffe. Keeping the aircraft relatively secret for much of its development, Heinkel was keen not only to demonstrate the capabilities of the aviation gas turbines, but he had a separate emphasis on developing high-speed flight technologies. So it wasn't just about the jet; it was about what it could do, right? Mm-hmm. how it could change flight. On 27, this is what we covered earlier. The 27th of August, 1939, the Heinkel 178 V1, the first prototype, performed the maiden flight and was piloted by Erich Warsitz, or Varsitz. It's a W, so it's pronounced a V. This flight, which lasted for only 6 minutes, had been preceded by a short hop by the same aircraft 3 days prior. So it was actually, its first flight was 3 days prior to that, but I mean, one could argue that a hop across the ground isn't quite a flight. But anyway, due to its performance limitations, and such as the maximum speed of 598 kilometers per hour, which is 372 miles per hour, and its relatively small endurance or short endurance, the aircraft failed to impress high-ranking Nazi officials such as Ernst Udet and Erhard Milch, who attended the demonstration flight. Heinkel subsequently developed a twin-engine jet-powered fighter aircraft built on the lessons of the HE-178 to produce the HE-280. The HE-178 provided valuable test data, and it helped guide the development of subsequent jet-powered aircraft. The V-1 aircraft itself, the Heinkel 178 V-1 prototype itself, went on static display in Berlin for a time before it was destroyed in an Allied air raid on the city in 1943. So anything you see,
us.
right? Well, you know, it's what it is. We have a lot of that going around. So most likely what you see is either recreation or of some sort, and is not the original. It's a replica of some sort. So that is information, if you didn't know, about the very first jet-powered aircraft and first jet engine. of forever, I guess. So yeah, and again, as you're starting to build these aircraft, with the EDFs and any of the fighter jets that are pretty popular, think about that first jet flight and how it changed and transformed what aviation warfare looked like, because it was a giant leap. It was pretty impressive. So.
Yeah, and then it comes into the commercial world, civilian world, and changed modern travel.
Yeah, all of a sudden you can actually go visit people who your range of frequent contact changes from a couple days. It was always a day or two's travel, but it extended the range of what that meant dramatically, right? Let's see. The plane was 24.5 feet long, 23, almost a little bit of 23 foot 7 inch wingspan. Its height was just under 7 feet. The empty weight of the aircraft was 3,571 pounds. Its max takeoff weight was 4,405 pounds, and it had that one Heinkel He S.3 turbojet engine, which produced 992 pounds of force of thrust. So that was a 1-to-4 thrust ratio.
So when we talk thrust ratios,
instead of a 4-to-1, which is usually we have twice as much thrust as the aircraft weighs.
Okay.
It's the other way around, right? We have a 3,500 pound aircraft being propelled by a 1,000 pound force. So yeah, it barely got there. But anyway, its range was pretty short. It was a 120 mile range, so just enough to get up there and back.
Essentially, yeah.
So yeah,
but again, it was a proof of concept.
Yeah, and they learned so much from it that they were able to create the very memorable Messerschmitt 262. So, and that was one that very interesting story behind that one. If you've never heard it, go learn it. I know we've got an episode in the past. I think we talked about it. So if you haven't, go learn about that plane too. It's a good one.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I tried to come at least somewhat prepared. So I guess the big thing is, so, I mean, we talked about some of it is we're going to Flite Fest. Joe, you're going to see if you can definitely make it. I've got Jesse coming up here. I know we're going to meet up. Our campsite is going to be Jesse, me, you, Joe, if you can make it, and Muttley for sure. We're going to be probably closer to where we were last time. I'll make sure to bring the flag. I'll make sure that you can at least find us there. And if you can't find us there, look for us in the neighboring build tent, because that's a very good chance we'll be mostly there.
Yeah, apparently quite a few people came by the camp last year looking for us. And that campsite was far enough out. There's like, once we left for the day, unless we had to, we weren't going back.
Yeah, we pretty much camped out.
Come to the build tent. We're hard to miss.
Yeah, and again, if I've got the big new built, it will be look for that. Find out what it looks like in that video that we'll post in the reference down below, and take a look, because you're going to see something very similar, and that's us. Let's see. As far as I'm hoping to be able to, I should be able to put together the small aircraft carrier, and we will, if it isn't flying yet or tested yet, we will bring it to test, because that will be fun. All I can say is that if we can bring night planes, even if it's just an easy kit with those lights. Joe, bring the easy kit with the lights.
Yeah,
bring yours, I'll bring mine.
I'll bring my easy kit, rebuild something, and probably had to buy some new LED strips.
I mean, you can always
pick up
a kit there too. They're so small, so cheap. Yeah, and just, I mean, we just had so much fun. We had so much fun with that little stupid thing.
You and I smacking each other in the middle of the night.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
We spent so long looking for your plane, too.
Well, the battery came out, right? Like it wasn't lit.
Oh, right.
That was the crazy part. And then I found it in the night and still found it. It was ridiculous. Anyway, there was a whole bunch of like, there's no way. But yeah, hey, look, if we're going to be there. One of us are going to be there at least. We will be represented. Come find us if you're interested in talking to us. I'd love to talk to you. I know Joe, if he's there, would love to talk to you. Jesse,
Tell you
loves meeting everybody.
We'll put out a short 1 minute before Flite Fest to let you know if just one of us going or both of us are going.
Yeah,
that way
we'll do
people
that.
know what to expect.
Yeah, I think I'll be able to put out a short episode on the update. We should. I'm ordering shirts, so I'm hoping that we'll have shirts. So look for the logo. One of us will be. We'll be walking around with it if we're not walking around with one of those Flite Test volunteer shirts. And then other than that, if you haven't and you're going, volunteer if you can. If you've got that time that you'd like to spare. I think it ends up basically building community. And
has the volunteer schedule been sent out at this point?
It has been. Yeah,
I have not seen anything on that.
There's an email I can forward to you, and it's a link to I think an Excel document. I don't know why they do it the way they do it because it's what it is.
Honestly,
I usually just kind of, for me, I'm always in the STEM tent anyway, so I usually just send something to Trevor directly saying, "Hey, I'm planning on being a flight test. I tried to sign up with the thing." But I plan on being in your tent unless you tell me to go home.
Yeah,
you know,
what I may do is just if I get to go again, strong probably, but get there, I'll probably just walk up to Eddie and say, "Look, there's a lot of uncertainties, but I am here. Do you need me given spots? If not, then I'll just find a spot to fill in."
Right. Also put in some links to the Noob Wonder. You to be able to build a little Noob Wonder, a flight test. An Aviation Wonder. There's a link for that, and then I think on the giant Noob build page, I have a build log on the flight test forums. I think at the bottom of it, I believe, and if I haven't, I will put a PDF together of what I use to build the giant Noob Wonder. If you're looking to do something like that.
In case somebody else wants to build it?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have much time.
You're not giving them much time, buddy.
Well, I think it was already there. So, I mean, theoretically, if they're industrious enough, they've already done it, right? However, if you are, and I'm telling you, you think I'm a fast builder. I've seen some incredibly fast things pulled together in shorter time than I imagined was possible. So, if you're ambitious and you want to build one and fly it in with us, go ahead. I'll post the plans and the information to be able to build your own. Like I said, I think I had it from last year, but I'll make sure it's there.
Okay. Well, without dragging this on too long and continuing the awkwardness that is us being off the cuff, you got anything else?
No, otherwise, no, just thank you for hanging in there. If you're a steady listener, if not, they'll just be a time gap, but it will be no time for you. So I hope you're enjoying. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching if you're watching on YouTube. And we hope we'll see you next time in about, a month or a couple weeks maybe?
Well, yeah, at this point, probably a month.
Let's plan on that.
Just like a little update of what's happening for sure. Yeah. But then, 3 weeks to Flite Fest and then a week to put whatever together afterwards.
Sounds perfect.
So, and then, at least, until things stabilize and finally kind of lock down for the long run, we'll plan to at least do once a month.
Okay.
Just to keep things going and continue to be here. Because we love you guys. And I've really missed sitting down and doing this.
Yeah.
I miss you, Matt.
I miss you, Joe.
Anyway.
No,
All right.
it's been a little bit of a hole. So I hope
It's just been weird. But yeah. All right. I'll get
All
us
right,
out
guys.
of here.
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
well, I guess you
Why don't
already
you
did,
get us
didn't
out of
you?
here? I will say, I hope to see you at Flite Fest. If not, I'll see you on Discord.
Okay, guys. Well, as always, we thank you for tuning in and listening and seeing that there was an episode up. Those that are listening to this when it comes out and checking in to see what's up, because it's been a minute. Thank you for hanging in there, coming back, listening to us, and joining us as we try to keep it going and assure you that we're not gone. We just took a little bit of a break. It was not planned to be that long. We thank you for those that continue to help keep the lights on through our Patreon. I'm not going to plug that too hard because we hadn't been here, but to our patrons, thank you very much. Feel free to reach out to us. You can email us aviationrcnoob@gmail.com. You can reach Matthew at aviationrcnoob.com, or you can reach me, Joe, at aviationrcnoob.com. Feel free to join the Discord. It is still active. Those guys are continuing to talk and hang out and share pictures. And did I see them doing a float boat or a float plane
Yeah, some of them are building float planes. Yeah, so Richard, Spitfire 76, he built a float plane, and he's got a couple guys that he flies with that do that. So he built a retrieval boat. Maybe that might be something we talk about next time.
Okay, so if you want to see what that's about, join the Discord. If nothing else, you can go, "Hey, Mad Joe, where are y'all at?" And we do respond to those. And that's about it. Check out the Facebook page if you want, and share anything on there you'd like to. But we got nothing else. We will see you guys next time.
All right, thanks. Bye, guys. It's okay. This whole episode was that. All right. There is entirely way too many things on this here table.
There's entirely way too many things behind you. Like, I'm worried you're going to die in an avalanche of foam planes.
It's sitting on the table, so it's not all like piled up from the floor. So there's that.
It's only from the tabletop up, not from the floor up.
It's like, when you're filming somebody from the waist up and you have no idea what they're wearing underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't want to know.